Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm glad to have you here, and we have something important to talk about today. For anyone that's not aware, Pokemon is getting closer to their 30th anniversary. Yeah, you heard me right, their 30th anniversary. Pokemon just had their 25th 2 years ago. It's crazy because the Pokemon series is older than some of you watching this video. But I'm not here to make fun of you Poke fans that love to cosplay as your favorite Pokemon. Stunfisk. Hey, stop the cap. Instead, we'll talk about the change of Pokemon from the late 1990s to today. So go ahead and fasten up because there's plenty to talk about. And as we go along, tell me in the comments down below what Pokemon did that changed your life. Or maybe just tell me what you like about the series. I don't know, tell me how deep you want to get. Anyways, let's go ahead and get started. Now, without giving you the hardest wiki lecture you have ever seen, we all know Pokemon's been around for years. Everyone, including your mother, knows the Sluggo, gotta catch 'em all. Man, that disc goes hard. But funny enough, Pokemon's original name was not Pokemon. In fact, it was Pocket Monsters. And of course, the name actually suits the show. There's these wild monsters walking around doing things that they want to do, and you just put them in your pocket. Honestly, that name's kind of better because otherwise you just think that you're poking a monster. But of course, the name Pocket Monsters not gonna sell, so instead they went ahead and changed it to Pokemon. They even gave you a special little E that nobody cares about. But then again, the E actually does matter because you do say Pokemon. The only ones that choose not to say the name right are the ones that choose to be woke. Yeah, that's right, Billy Bob, I'm talking about you.
I just want to go home and play Pokemon.
Go home and play Pokemon?
Yeah, Pokemon.
Yeah.
Don't do that. You can't disrespect Pokemon like that. Pokemon.
Dude's over here reading it as Pokemon.
Sound like old.
Regardless, if you want to be a woke boomer or one of us helpful people contributing to society, you cannot deny that Pokemon's been having a successful long run. They just put out their 9th generation of their main games. And I'm just saying, if you're on number 9, that must mean that 1 through 8 must be somewhat good. But since we have to start somewhere, let's talk about the first Pokemon ever. And this question is a debatable one. Some people believe it's the first Pokemon in the Dex, which would be this little grass demon here. But you see, the actual Dex is different depending on what region you're in. Of course, you can get the national Dex, but sometimes that differs. Therefore, Bulbasaur might not be the first Pokemon. So then you may want to go look at the lore. And if you look at it that way, then technically Arceus is the god of Pokemon, which would entail that God comes first, therefore Arceus comes first. It's really hard to believe in this religious Pokemon stuff, but could that be true? Maybe. But for this video, we'll talk about the Pokemon that was created first. And that directs us to this picture. Now, there is a chance you don't have your Pokemon certified safety goggles on like me, therefore you don't know what Pokemon this is. Maybe you see Nidoqueen, which could be a good answer, or maybe you're just blind as a bat and you see Swoobat. And if you see something like that, you probably want to go get help. But actually, the first Pokemon ever created was Rhydon. I know all the Pikachu and Clefairy fans are devastated, but it is true that this rock monster is indeed Rhydon. It's just, you know, not as horny. But when you think about it as a whole, whether it's Rhydon, Bulbasaur, or Pikachu, it doesn't matter who came first, because now we've hit the point where there's more than just one Pokemon, there's 1,000 Pokemon. As of the new Scarlet and Violet games, they finally made 1,000 of these creatures, and it's kind of crazy. I mean, I must give you your flowers if you know all 1,000 names. But when you think about it, 150 Pokemon per region kind of adds up. Everyone was in such a big frenzy when the first Pokemon came out because there was 151 of these suckers. But now look at this, there's 1,000 of them. Now, not to be a hater, but some of them are a bit of the bottom of the barrel. But alas, some of these designs are actually goated. And some of them have the Dex number that actually makes sense for them, such as Go being number 1,000. And instead of ruining Scarlet and Violet for you, just go play it. So finally hitting 1,000 Pokemon feels pretty cool. Gamefreak even went out of their way to make a full video talking about this achievement. They said, just in case you don't remember it, we do. So of course, with 9 generations and almost 30 years of Pokemon, there's plenty of good things about this series. And not to just forget about it, but there's also plenty of side games as well. I'm sure majority of you guys remember these bangers. I mean, Pokemon Snap, the new Pokemon Snap just didn't feel right, but that's not for this video. But regardless, that's just a game you take pictures of Pokemon. I mean, majority of the time, these Pokemon have different chances to do different activities or different things. However, you just take pictures of them regardless. There's no catching and battling. You just take out a picture and take a quick selfie. Another is the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon series, which you can check out up there. While this game is a little bit more in-depth, it's still pretty simple. Throw some Pokemon in a dungeon, walk around, and shoot out moves. The gameplay is not very in-depth, but it's fun. And the crazy part about all these games is this is only some. The list of side games goes on and on. Pokemon Pinball, Troze, Rangers, Pokken. If I threw them all on the screen, you probably get pissed. But never forget, Pokemon is the master of putting something together and selling it to you. While Pokemon has continued to grow and branch out, it doesn't mean that they're always the golden child. Matter of fact, when you think about it, where Pokemon started wasn't that good. When it comes to competitive battling or the gameplay, it was just non-existent. Here's a list of some of the problems that Red and Blue had. And if you don't remember some of these, then man, you're lucky. The ability to crit was based off of your speed. The moves such as bind and wrap kept you stuck even if you switched out. It also prevented you from doing any moves whatsoever. It was so bad that there wasn't even a special stat. Now, of course, Game Freak has fixed all of these problems plus more, but when you compare it to then versus now, it was terrible. But of course, over the years, there's been plenty of things Game Freak has added to the game to just make them better. Probably one of the most important things is shiny Pokemon. The first series of Pokemon didn't have any shiny Pokemon. Eventually, they decided to put a color swap on and suddenly you just cared. It doesn't matter how bad the shiny actually is because it's shiny. And listen, some of these shinies are actually stinky. With them making it so rare, it felt like an achievement to have a shiny Pokemon whatsoever. Well, at least that was until this thing came out. But it was still cool. You had a shiny Pokemon that your friend probably didn't have. But just to list off some other changes that they have had, we have double, triple rotation in horde battles, Pokemon contests, in-game content such as the Battle Frontier and the Subway, and of course the special mechanics such as Mega Evolution, Dynamaxing, and Terrestrializing. While of course some of these stay in the series but others just come and go, it at least shows that Game Freak has the ability to try something new and freshen it up. But as always, there's a couple of things they just don't make progress in. Do you remember the animation in Pokemon Sword and Shield? To say the animation for those games were bad is an understatement. It's also sad because some of the animated moves they've done in previous games are just better than the ones in Sword and Shield. But Sword and Shield is not the only one going to get flamed. Don't forget about the most recent one, Scarlet and Violet. When those games came out, it was GG, glitch galore. Of course, I'm on the side that there's going to be patches in the future to fix all these issues, but that does not avoid the fact that they released these games and they looked like this. So as I mentioned before, Pokemon has made plenty of positive changes for the series, but by no means are they done. There's still plenty of work that they have to do to make these games better. But as always, if you clicked on this video, I'm sure you enjoyed the series as much as I do. And don't forget that Generation 10 is right around the corner. We should all expect something dummy stupid for that generation. While the 1000 Pokemon is such a big feat that we cannot ignore it, Generation 10 might go more dummy. But listen, we'll have to wait and see. So again, in the comments below, let me know what you loved about Pokemon in the past 2 decades. With that, thank y'all for watching. Go check out this video over here. I'm sure you'll probably like that too. I know you love Pokemon. But anyways, y'all take care. Peace.